always delivering on a promise, right? If you make a promise, the first email in the sequence should always deliver on the promise. Hey, thank you, and here you go. That's it. And notice how there was no hard pitch.
Absolutely, absolutely.
That's really
so the day one, which is going to go out the next day, is what we call the check-in email. And this is where you're just going to ask them basically, did you get it? You want to show that you care. You also want to catch those people who possibly maybe didn't get the email or they forgot to open it up. So it's kind of a second chance. This one, you're just going to say, hey, just checking in to see what you thought about it. Thought about the playbook that I sent over yesterday. Have you had a chance to read it? If so, and here's where you can kind of start a little bit of a conversation. You'll actually get a few responses on this possibly, but you're also just showing them that you're open to working, you're open to helping them. So you can say, please feel free to reply back with any questions or feedback you might have. I'd love to be a resource to you and your family. And I really like that line. We use that a lot when we work with advisors. I'd love to be a resource to you and your family. It's a way of bringing their family into it as well and showing that you care, that all you're looking to do is help them out, and you're not pushy, you're not being salesy. And then the PS here, and a lot of people, most people will actually read the PS before they actually read the email itself. So it's always a good idea to include a PS there. And this is the first time we're actually making any kind of ask, but notice that it's a very soft ask. It's a very casual, it's not very pushy, but we're asking to start a conversation. And the reason that we include this in day one is because it's typically, if someone just let's say they read your playbook about infinite banking, and they've read it in the last 24 hours, that's going to be the time they're most excited about the thing that you are sharing with them. Typically that 24 hours after, it's going to be on their mind. They're going to be thinking about it. So if you can actually get a conversation while they're most excited about it, when it's most fresh on their mind, you'll have some takers on that and people who will want to go ahead and start a conversation with you. So we kind of throw that in very, very casually there at the end of the day one email, just to engage them.
The objective of a sequence is to start a conversation. Like that's the objective. It's not to sell anything. It's not to make them believe you're the wizard of all infinite banking or RIAs or whatever. It's just to start a conversation, and that call to action, hey, just hit me back, just hit reply if you got a question. You could word it any way you want, but that's a very cool, very low key call to action that doesn't sound salesy at all. Great stuff, Sky.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I like that it's in the PS there too, because it doesn't feel like it's the entire purpose of the email. It's almost just like oh, by the way, if you want to have a conversation with me, I'm more than open to it. Mm-hmm. So day 3 is the value add email. And this subject line here, I thought you might like this, and you include their name. It's just kind of a catchy one that usually gets people to open it up. And the entire point here is to just add value upon value. So they knew going into it that they were going to exchange their email address for whatever playbook you're providing. Now you're actually going to give them more value than they expected. And you're going to, they're interested in the topic because they've actually gone through the effort of signing up for this playbook or for whatever your lead magnet is. So what you're going to do is you're actually going to say, since you're interested in my infinite playbook, Banking for Doctors, I thought you might also be interested in checking out these free resources. And you don't have to include this many. I'm just showing you examples. It could be a blog post. It could be a YouTube video. It could be a podcast episode. It could be another PDF. It could be any number of things. So just try to throw a couple of extra things at them, because not only does it add more value, but it also can help push them further down your funnel by getting them more educated, so that when they're ready to have a conversation with you, there's less education that has to happen there. So, and then you're just going to go on. You can throw in a little bit of social proof here if you want. Something like if you've been in the business for a while. I've spent the past 15 years teaching doctors how to maximize their income, and kind of giving your USP there, whatever yours is. And then you can just kind of throw it in, let them know these are bonus gifts, and just kind of create a little bit more goodwill with them is always helpful in this email.
Yeah. The other thing too is, for example, Henry's chiming in here. What if could I say, I'll give you a hard copy of Paychecks and Playchecks. So I guess if you have the license to use Tom's presentation, yeah, absolutely, you could do that. The other thing too is if you're not really a content creator, you could go find an article on Forbes, Kiplinger's, Barron's, anything out there that edifies what you do or a product you sell or a strategy or an approach you take, you can link it. Hey, I thought you'd enjoy this Forbes article that talks about, that supports what I wrote about in the Infinite Banking Playbook for Doctors, right? So what you're doing is you're leveraging third-party credibility to establish your case, and you don't have to write it. So that's another little hack that you can use as well.
100%. Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that. That is work smarter, not harder, right? So if you can find something and you can find something that coincides with yours, which you've already said, it actually gives you authority without actually having to, you're just latching on to someone else's authority and being the person that is saying, I'm in tune with the industry because I know about, here's this other resource. So absolutely. Day 5 is the introduction email. I think this is a very important one. And we specifically, it's not included. It's not the first email. It's not the second email, but it's kind of in the middle of the sequence because depending on how people have kind of entered into your funnel, how they've ended up downloading this lead magnet, there's different avenues they can take, but they might not know a lot about you. So you want to humanize yourself. You want to make yourself relatable. You want to share with them, kind of start building this connection so they're willing to have a conversation with you. And so, a little bit of a curiosity inducing headline here. You're probably wondering, people are going to, naturally think, well, what does he think I'm probably wondering? What does she think I'm probably wondering? So that's a kind of a curiosity inducing headline. And you're just going to say,
we call it the open loop.
That's right. It is
opening a loop, example. But you're not, in order to close the loop, they have to open the email. So there's a little trick that you can use in subject lines. And if you like that one, you could use it on other emails too.
Absolutely. So you go in there and you're just going to say, I trust you've enjoyed the resources I've been sending you, but just occurred to me that you might be thinking, who is this guy? Who is this gal anyway? So here's a little about me. And you can just include, I've included some examples here. Like you could do a personal fact. It could be like, I'm an avid runner and I did my first Ironman this year or something. You could include a professional, fact or title. Like I've been in the business for 14 years and I have my CFP designation. You could do proof. Like if we're using this example, I've helped over 200 families implement an infinite banking system that's, helped them build wealth, whatever it is you want to include. I recommend those 3, like personal, professional, and proof, just because it kind of covers all bases and helps people get to know you in a very quick way. And then again, this sounds repetitive. We're again talking about our USP there for the lead magnet, but you have to remember people don't consume these emails in a linear fashion typically, or if they do, it's been several days. You're not gonna. It sounds like when I'm showing these that you might be kind of just like beating a dead horse, saying the same thing over and over. But it's important to reiterate. People forget, and you want to assume that people maybe haven't read the previous email. So again, we're going to go ahead and ask to connect for a quick chat. So we're more consistently asking for that conversation. And you can tell them, you can just include your calendar link, which is usually the most convenient way, because then people can, if you've got one set up, people can just go click and there's no back and forth. Does this time work? No, this time doesn't work. How about this time? They can just click, they see an availability, they know it's there, they take it, it removes friction, and it makes it very, very simple to start a conversation with you.
Yep. And one little thing before we hop to the next one is you can feel free to put a picture of you and your family or a proud moment in your life there. It just humanizes the email, right? It's like, oh, this is a real guy, a real girl. There's her and her family and their dogs and their cats, or on the farm, or climbing, Jungfrau in Europe, or whatever it is, right? Like it just kind of brings some humanity. And here's one of my proudest moments when my daughter graduated. Like all of a sudden you just pierced through all the marketing speak and you just became a human. So feel free to use, I've done that before. I do that when people opt into the Advisorist newsletter. There's a picture of my wife and I and some of the volunteer work we do. And people are like, oh, okay, this is a real person. Yeah, so good stuff, Sky.